Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. And now the Friday Crime Report. Orange County, Florida, July 29th, 2025, 2 o'clock p.m. Solar panel salesman Antavis Johnson visited the home of Cheryl Pyle and Stephen Wiley in Hunters Creek. He was calling to see if they were interested in his services. They could have just said no, but they decided to do a lot more than that.
I had my binder, had the notice, but before I was able to pull out my notice, she called her husband down, and that's when everything just turned left.
According to an Orange County Sheriff's Office report, Johnson was harassed and threatened by the couple, not just in the home, but all the way out into the street. Johnson would record this interaction on his cell phone and later upload it to TikTok, where it racked up millions of views before TikTok decided to take the video down, because they believe in free speech, don't you know? Of course, when incidents like this manage to break through the white media filter and actually get some traction, you always got those people from white society who are the first to say, well, it couldn't have been that bad. There's always people who are making a big deal about just words. This is probably just one of those minor misunderstandings that black people are blowing out of proportion. Black people are always blowing things out of proportion. Well, watch the video for yourself and you decide.
Record me.
Take your black out of here, mother.
Listening with the wrong person.
Take your black out of here, you. Don't come cussing my door, mother. On your phone. Get your feet, mother.
Off my property.
Out of here. Record that back again, mother.
Good. I hope you show your employers, because this is what your employees do.
You dumb. Says no soliciting. Get your black out of here. You come back again, we'll hang you.
Don't go over his house either.
He don't want nothing. It says no soliciting. Get your black.
Keep in mind, these are the same red state racists who love to tell everybody that they're not bigoted at all, that that's just a media fantasy. They're just being stereotyped as being racist. These are the people who will tell you, oh, I got nothing but black friends, and I would never use racial slurs. I get along with everyone. Do they look like they're getting along with anybody? The deputy who wrote the report on this incident noted that Wiley became uncooperative and began making multiple racially charged statements. What Wiley said wasn't included in the report, though. So even when the local pig patrol showed up, these two reprobates still couldn't be civil even with the cops. So in front of the police, they were still spewing racial slurs is what that means. Weren't they worried about how this would look? Of course not. They know they've got white privilege and that would keep them from suffering any serious consequences. Or so they thought. Sure, it took months, far longer than it should have, but eventually Stephen Wiley and Cheryl Pyle were charged with first-degree misdemeanor assault and also accused of evidencing prejudice, which categorizes their offense as hate crimes. This is something that happens far, far too rare, especially in moron DeSantis' Florida. Pyle and Wiley are scheduled to be arraigned on November 25th. But of course, you won't be surprised to learn that this isn't Wiley and Pyle's first brush with the law, because these two reprobates are also co-defendants in a felony case where they're accused of abusing Pyle's stepmother at the same home that they threatened Mr. Johnson at. In that incident, prosecutors allege that they beat their victim and kept her from leaving by tying a rope between the doors to her bedroom and the garage. That incident took place in September, 2 months after the racist confrontation they had with Mr. Johnson. They would eventually be arrested for that crime on October 1st. Pyle would be charged with aggravated abuse of the elderly and Wiley with petty theft. In fact, that's where their mugshots came from, this elder abuse case they've been charged with, not the racial threats that they made against Mr. Johnson. And what this proves is, yet again, had the authorities down there actually done their jobs when this attack on Mr. Johnson occurred, then this other incident where they're accused of beating and tying up an old woman would never have happened. But as we all know, we don't live under a system of justice, we live under a system of white supremacy where it doesn't matter what the alleged crime is, all that matters is who's accused. And if you're black, you're going to be charged whether you did it or not. In fact, you'll be charged whether a crime happened or not. And on the other hand, if you come from the dominant society, well, nothing happens at all. Now, from my reading, these two were already in jail for the elder abuse case at the time that the authorities finally decided they would pursue charges for the crime against Mr. Johnson. But let's be honest here, does anyone actually want to bet that it was this second incident with the white woman that actually prompted the authorities to finally act in the case of Mr. Johnson? This is Florida, where the racism runs deep, so my money's on that one. Records show that Pyle and Wiley will remain in jail on a $15,000 and $2,500 bonds, respectively. Both of them, of course, have pleaded pleaded not guilty. And speaking of not guilty, Cheryl Pyle, who's been charged with abusing her own stepmother, tried to claim that Mr. Johnson's the guilty party, that he had threatened to rape her, and that he was the one who spewed racial slurs targeting white people. Yeah, the white woman and her husband, or whatever that science experiment is, these two are the ones throwing racial slurs at him while he says nothing and does nothing, but they're claiming that he was the one spewing racial slurs at them. Johnson has not been charged with a crime, nor should he. And given what you know about these two, does anyone actually believe them? Which one is more likely? That the two individuals who are caught on video losing their minds in public, screaming and yelling like a couple of degenerates who escaped from an insane asylum, the two individuals who have also been charged with abusing and beating an elderly woman, is it likely that Mr. Johnson showed up and that he just decided to make threats at them for no reason whatsoever, or that these two are your typical recipients of white privilege, and as a result, they have a full expectation that if a black person shows up, they can do anything they want against that black person. They can yell at them, disrespect them, threaten to lynch them, and that nothing's going to be done about it. As far as they're concerned, they're just indulging their white privilege. That's a huge part of what white privilege entails. The ability to threaten black people or even kill black people, and the law will not do anything about it. Now you tell me, especially in moron DeSantis' Florida, which one do you think is more likely? Who are you going to believe? We'll continue with the moment of truth in just a moment, but first, a word from the official sponsor of Black Empowerment, Power Tools. There's no telling when something's going to come up, so make sure you carry your power tools at all times. You never know when you're going to need to bring the hammer down, or when you'll have some trash that needs to be blown away, or some obstacle that requires cutting down. Don't get caught empty-handed. Keep your hammer close by. Keep that leaf blower at the ready, and always carry your steel. Power Tools, because no matter what your day job or side hustle may be, there's no excuse for not being ready to put in some work. All of this anti-black hostility, especially in Florida, is deliberate. It's intentional. This is the environment that racist Ron DeSantis set out to create from the very beginning. The entire point was to embolden anti-black violence. That's the entire point. And that's the reason why Mr. Johnson was concerned, and he should have been concerned. As I detail for you in my Friday crime reports, black citizens simply walking down the street or jogging through their own neighborhoods are routinely accosted, harmed, or even killed by these little white supremacists running around. And the authorities do everything that they can to make sure that there's a hands-off policy. That is meant to embolden them to commit their crimes when they understand, when it's just known. Nothing's going to be done. As long as you harm a black person, the authorities are just going to give it a wink and a nod. And everyone understands that this inaction by the authorities is directly meant to encourage and sanction anti-black violence. And that is the reason why there must be an anti-black hate crime law specifically to protect black Americans, because we're the only ones who are targeted like this. Even during the hysteria about Stop Asian Hate during the pandemic, there wasn't a single year or even a single month when black people were not the primary victims of hate crimes. But of course, you wouldn't have known that by the white media coverage. And with trash like Juju Chang working for the white media, you understand exactly why that is. And before some idiot comes along and says, well, I heard that they said that they had a no solicitation sign up. If you got a no solicitation sign up and somebody knocks on your door anyway, you tell them to leave. You don't sit there and start threatening them and telling them, get away from my house and all the rest of that. That's somebody who's indulging their anti-black whimsy. That has nothing to do with a solicitation sign. But I'm not about to dignify any of this typical white-splaining and anti-black excuse-making. How many times have we seen stories about black delivery personnel drivers who have been threatened, assaulted, pursued, and shot at by racist white people, and nothing's ever done about that? Was that because there was a no solicitation sign up? Black delivery drivers who are carrying out deliveries at the locations that they're supposed to be at, and yet the white people in those areas, they look and say, you're black, you ain't supposed to be around here, and we can go ahead and kill you because we live in the place where we know the cops and the DAs aren't going to do anything about it. That's the reason this occurred. It had absolutely nothing to do with any alleged no solicitation signs and everything to do with the clear understanding that these white supremacists can kill black people with impunity because the authorities allowed them to. And were it not for social media, nobody would have even known that this incident happened. And even with social media, you see there's a clear open policy on these white supremacist platforms of going ahead and suppressing this stuff. Shut it down, make sure nobody sees it, cover it up. That's what happened. Larry Ellison bought TikTok because he's a Zionist and he was angry that TikTok posted videos of the genocide in Gaza. And those TikTok videos were a driving force behind the campus protests and the online pressure campaigns that came against the Israeli government. And for longtime backers of the Israeli regime like Larry Ellison, that could potentially be a threat to him too. He had a problem with that. But when a black man posts a video of some racist white people threatening his life, oh, well, that we cannot have. Larry Ellison's also the guy who bought Paramount, and it was his son who put the racist Barry Weiss in charge of CBS's news division, so this is the reason why TikTok is an inhospitable place for calling out white supremacy. I'm the first to tell you that taking video of these racist incidents is fine, but being ready to protect yourself from them is far better. Florida is one of those states where the legislatures removed practically all gun restrictions, and they did that specifically to embolden white racists like these two to carry guns and then carry out anti-black ambushes too. I think you should keep that in mind, especially if your employment requires you to go to people's homes. If you're going to be on the job, then you must be ready to put in some work too. And that's this week's Friday Crime Report. Keep your eyes open and stay on alert, because there's a lot worse criminals out there than the ones the white corporate media chooses to show you. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: G. Mars, Samora Morris, Johnny Martin, L. Wilson, and Earth Angel. Salute to them, and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.